Today we're going to be talking about the upper digestive tract, including the mouth, the esophagus, and the stomach. So let's get started. First, let's talk about where these organs are located. So obviously your mouth is at the top. We're all familiar with our mouths. We have the esophagus next. So food passes through the mouth and into the esophagus, and then finally the stomach. Another important organ or piece of tissue that I want to share with you is this up here. This is called the epiglottis, and we're going to find out a little bit more about what that does in a few minutes. So digestion starts inside the mouth, and that's where we're going to start talking about our digestive tract today. So digestion begins in the mouth. The mouth is the site of both chemical and mechanical digestion. So chemical digestion is when your body mixes food with chemicals to help break the food down into nutrients that your body can use. And mechanical digestion is when your body crushes food into smaller pieces to help chemical digestion work faster and to help the food move more easily through the body. You can imagine how difficult it would be to eat if you had to swallow everything whole. So chewing things up definitely makes it move easier through the body, and it also helps break that food down. You can imagine crushing up something if you wanted to dissolve it in water versus trying to keep it whole. If you crush it up, it's going to dissolve a lot faster. So another part of your mouth or near your mouth is your salivary glands. And if you close your eyes and imagine that you smell chocolate chip cookies baking in the oven, your mouth might start to water. And that's because digestion starts before you even take a bite. Your salivary glands start producing saliva when your brain sends the message that food is coming. And what do your salivary glands produce? They produce saliva. Saliva is an important fluid produced by your salivary glands, and it contains an enzyme called amylase. Enzymes are chemicals that cut bigger molecules into smaller pieces that the body can use. Amylase in your saliva cuts really big starch molecules into tinier sugar molecules like glucose. Your cells use glucose to power their activities. Amylase mixing with starch in your mouth starts the process of chemical digestion. You can try this on your own if you take like a cracker or a piece of bread, something that has a lot of starch in it, and you chew it for about 5 minutes. It's a really long chew, but if you chew it for about 5 minutes in your mouth, you'll notice that the flavor will suddenly switch and it will become very sweet. Give it a try. Another part of your mouth are your teeth. Your teeth tear and crush food into smaller pieces. This is what starts the process of mechanical digestion. If you take a look at your teeth in the mirror or in your front-facing camera, you'll see that they all have slightly different shapes. The teeth in the front of your mouth are called incisors, and they work like scissors to cut food into smaller pieces. Those larger, flatter teeth near the back of your mouth are called molars, and they work to crush food into little tiny pieces. So the last part of your mouth is your tongue, and your tongue is the strongest muscle in your body. Not only does it allow you to speak, it's also really important in helping you eat. So your mouth is kind of a big place, and your tongue helps move food around so that it can be properly chewed by the teeth. It also helps mix saliva with the chewed food, and that creates a mass called a bolus, and that is just chewed food and saliva. It has a sciencey word. It's a bolus. That's also like a great word to call, I don't know, like a younger sibling if you want to call them a funny name. Your tongue helps you swallow by moving food to the back of your throat, and then of course it helps you taste your food. Your nose is also a big part of taste. All right, so now we've talked about the mouth, and we're going to go down the esophagus. And the first thing we're going to hit is the epiglottis. So remember, your esophagus, or the food pipe, connects your mouth to your stomach. And at the top of your esophagus is a flap of tissue called the epiglottis. You can see in the GIF there what it does. So when you swallow, your epiglottis flips over your windpipe to keep food and water from going into your lungs. And this works most of the time, but we have all experienced that sensation of food going down the wrong pipe. Sometimes if you're eating and talking at the same time, your epiglottis can get confused about what you want it to do. And unfortunately, you can get a little food or a little water into your windpipe. So a lot of people think that food just falls directly from your mouth into your stomach, down your esophagus, but that's not actually the case. It is actually pushed along by some smooth muscles that line the esophagus. And this wave-like movement of muscles that moves food actually throughout your whole digestive tract is called peristalsis. And peristalsis is the reason why astronauts can eat in space and why you can swallow if you're standing on your head or hanging upside down. You can give that a try sometime. You'll totally be able to swallow even if you're completely upside down. So now that we've traveled through the mouth and down the esophagus, we're finally into the stomach. And your stomach is a muscular J-shaped organ that's located on the left side of your body, just under your ribs. And food stays in your stomach for about 2 hours, but it depends on what you eat. Fat and protein stick around in your stomach longer than carbohydrates. So both mechanical and chemical digestion take place in your stomach. The strong muscles of your stomach squeeze and mash the food inside until it turns into a thick liquid called chyme. You have definitely seen chyme before if you've ever thrown up. Your stomach is where mechanical digestion finishes. And then there's lots of chemical digestion that happens in your stomach thanks to the gastric juices that are produced there. So what are gastric juices? Gastric juices are an acidic liquid made by your stomach lining that helps you digest food. Gastric juices have two main parts, stomach acid and pepsin. Pepsin is an enzyme that cuts proteins into amino acids, which your body can use. Stomach acid has two purposes. Firstly, it kills pathogens that travel with the food and water that you consume. So your digestive system, or at least your stomach, is really kind of part of your immune system because it helps you stay healthy. Secondly, your stomach acid helps break down the food you eat. Now you might be thinking, wait a minute, gastric juices are made of acid and they're made of pepsin, which digests protein. You just told me that my stomach is a muscle, so can my gastric juices digest my stomach? And the answer is no, not as long as you keep producing a thick layer of mucus. So your stomach produces a very thick layer of mucus to protect itself from digesting its own tissue. Occasionally, a person can get a gap in that protective layer of mucus, and when that happens, they get an ulcer, which is really painful, but it can be treated with medicine. So I hope you've enjoyed this video about the upper digestive tract. We've talked about what happens to food in the mouth and all the different parts of the mouth. We've talked about the esophagus and peristalsis and the epiglottis, and then we've talked about the stomach and its gastric juices. Have a great day, and we'll talk soon.